Hello, it was on this day in 399 BC that Socrates died. He had been convicted in a trial that lasted just one day of impiety and corrupting youth and sentenced to death. So he drank hemlock without accepting any invitation to escape that was offered to him on this day in 399. He was clearly seen as subversive by the authorities in Athens, and yet he never wrote anything down, and the only things we know about his teaching are because Plato and others said what he said. But what we do know is that knowledge was crucial to him. He wanted to ask questions. That's the Socratic method, constantly asking questions rather than giving answers. What is virtue? What is justice? And what is a human being? And indeed, who am I? And perhaps the quote most famously attributed by Plato to Socrates is that the unexamined life is not worth living. And indeed, the ability to examine our lives, to, as it were, split ourselves into two, so there's a bit of us looking at what the other bit has done or is doing, is probably the main thing that distinguishes us from the rest of the animal creation. We are able to be self-conscious, and it is a wonderful gift. Of course, we can misuse it. I think if we spend time constantly blaming ourselves as we look inside ourselves for things we've done, or alternatively, constantly refusing to accept responsibility for our actions and blaming other people, or possibly dwelling on those things in the past which we regret, but about which now we can do nothing, except perhaps learn from them. These things are not creative, generally speaking. And being self-reflective can sometimes not do us any good, but it is a way of moving forward, of learning from our lives, from being aware of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. In other words, asking ourselves the kind of questions that Socrates wanted to ask about life in general. He started, though, from the assumption that real wisdom comes from recognizing that actually we know very little, and our ability to know what virtue or justice or love is very limited, just as our ability fully to understand ourselves is limited. And humility in the face of that questioning is a healthy thing. Sometimes I think too, it's a good idea to stop self-reflecting. It can become a bit of a burden, and can prevent us from really enjoying the moment we're in, because we're constantly thinking about what we are, what we've done, what we might do. Just sometimes not to think, but just to be, can be a very good way of being a full and rich human being. Maybe Socrates was right, that too much knowledge may not be what leads to ultimate joy. Maybe the real wisdom is just learning to accept who we are, but doing some thinking about it.